quickly scan the whole room at everybody's face. The person who did it will look guilty. And then you look them dead in the eye and say,
"Hey, I know who did it."
And watch them look even guiltier. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Allie Mack and I am a teacher, and you have found my Hot for Teaching YouTube channel. Are you a teacher that's looking for some tips and tricks that they might not share with you in college, or you might not find in any textbook? If so, please keep watching. We're wasting time. Okay, tip number 1, learn your students' voices on the first day, first week, first month of school, right when you're learning their names. So learning students' voices will help you easily identify who is talking whenever you're not necessarily looking at them. I guess this is how teachers are able to fool kids into thinking they have eyes in the back of their head. So this is a good tip. It might take you a little bit of practice at first, but you'll get it. Tip number 2, say your classroom is full of negative energy. Say something happened at lunch, say something happened at PE, and they're all coming in acting crazy and there's so much negative energy in your room. All you have to do is play the song Walking on Sunshine and it'll make everybody cheer up 9 times out of 10. Tip number 3, is your whiteboard not erasing? All you need to do is purchase a can of WD-40, get an old washcloth, spray a thin layer, and wipe. Your board will erase, and this is basically how I clean my board every Friday before I go home for the weekend. It's a good tip and it works. Try it. Tip number 4, whenever your students leave for the day, start preparing your room to teach for the very next day. Change the date on your board, write your focus question if it's new, write your learning skills or whatever it is the principals and administration has you write on your board. Update your board. I always have an agenda of what we're doing that day. Update everything. Get your bell ringers ready, get your activities laid out, have it ready so you can just walk in and teach, because you never know what might happen that next morning. Tip number 5, do you want an easy way to identify your pencils? I can't take credit for this one. This came from my husband because he would see me wrap the ends with duct tape, wrap the ends with washi tape, put my name in permanent marker, but for some reason kids can always wipe it off or peel it off whenever they want to. So he was like, why don't you just slice with a knife at the very bottom of the pencil, that way you immediately know that it is your pencil. So it has been a trick I've been using ever since he told me about it, like a few years ago when we first got married. Actually 7 years. Oh, I hope he doesn't watch this. But anyway, so slice the bottom of your pencil. That way you'll immediately know that they're yours, and don't necessarily share this with the student unless they're trying to say, no, this is my pencil. You know what I mean? But hopefully they won't do that. Do you have problems with students keeping up with their pencils? Now this tip works in elementary and it does most of the time in middle school, but for the most part this is how it works. Okay, so you buy some really brightly colored pencils, sharpen them, do the little slicing at the bottom, and hand every student one of these pencils when they enter your classroom. Even if they already have a pencil, hand everyone a pencil. Okay, so go throughout your lesson, and then when it's time to leave, every student must hand you a pencil before they leave. So you know you gave everyone a pencil, and you know that you need to get one back from everybody. And I tell you what, this has helped me so many times when I could not keep up with pencils because I'm so bad about writing it down and I lose track or whatever, but this way really helps. So hand everyone a pencil and then take one back from them when they leave. Tip number 7, this is an easy grading tip. What I usually do whenever it comes to practice work and practice assignments is I choose 5 problems that I'm going to grade, and that's it. So whenever it's time to grade, I just grade those 5. I put a smiley face or a check by the ones that are correct and a X by the ones that are wrong. That way I can hand them back to the students and I can give them immediate feedback, and they know ahead of time that you don't grade all of it, but they still have to do every problem really well because they don't know which ones are being graded. And this saves you time and it gives the kids feedback. It's a win-win situation. Tip number 8. Are your kids driving you crazy on St. Patrick's Day with the pinching because people are not wearing green? I learned this from a veteran teacher at my school. She basically took green construction paper and she cut it into little strips, then she wrapped the strips and stapled it to the child's wrist. That way kids are wearing green and they don't have to worry about being pinched, and you don't have to worry about this messing up your class. You could also set the tone, also say you don't have green construction paper, and say this is a no pinching zone, and just say anyone who pinches is going to have immediate after school detention. And I do this basically on April Fool's Day. I tell them this is a no April Fool's Day, whatever, it's a no prank zone, and anyone that violates this will have after school detention with me. That makes them like, I don't want to do it. And obviously if the kid does pinch or play a prank, you need to go ahead and assign them after school detention, because this can be a mess. Tip number 9, are you setting up parent conferences and parents are not showing up? Well, offer the child an incentive if the parent shows up. This could be something simple like they get to eat lunch with the teacher, and say maybe they don't want to eat lunch with you. Maybe you could allow them some extra computer time or something that they enjoy doing. It doesn't have to be expensive, but just make sure it's worth their while so that parent will come to your conference. Tip number 10, I didn't know this was a thing. Say your back is turned for just a second or so and you see that someone threw paper or is making weird noises or doing something they know they're not supposed to. Quickly scan the whole room at everybody's face. The person who did it will look guilty. And then you look them dead in the eye and say, I know who did it, and watch them look even guiltier. Don't believe me? Try it. I would also like to add that I don't necessarily punish the child with this, because what if they weren't the one that did it? But usually it is the case that they will. I just look them dead in the eye and say, I know exactly who did it. And then that way they know and I know, and then that way we don't have to get in a fight or possibly give someone a punishment that didn't deserve it. Tip number 11, and I stumbled upon this by accident. The teacher that had my classroom before me had left these cones. You know, cheerleading cones? Go, fight, win! Those kind of things. Okay, so use one of those whenever you are letting your kids work in groups, and say the volume gets a little loud. You are never supposed to raise your voice. And what got me thinking about this is whenever my daughter or someone would come home from school and they'd say, all that teacher does is scream at me. And I got to thinking about it. Whenever I would raise my voice, which is a big no-no by the way, raise my voice over the kids to get their attention, they might interpret that as me screaming at them, which I am not. So if you get one of those megaphones and you just talk normally, you all need to be quiet. It elevates your normal speaking voice so you don't sound like you're screaming. That's a good tip. I think they sell those little cones on eBay and Amazon for like $7. Tip number 12. Do you have a student that never smiles, never laughs, is always negative, always brings negative energy to your classroom? I saw this idea on Pinterest, but it wasn't exactly in this way. Okay, so I found a piece of brown construction paper and I cut out a capital E. And I went up to the child and I said, here you go, sweetie. I was like, I made you a brownie. And I walked away. And it was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then she just bursted out laughing and shared with everybody that I made her a brown E. Tip number 13. Before you take your children to lunch on the first day of school, make sure you have already determined which children are going to wipe the tables for you. And the kids that volunteer first, let them do it. And you can switch this out, but make sure you do that and offer them some kind of an incentive. That way they feel like they're getting paid for their work. Listen, it is horrible getting to the cafeteria, everybody's dealing with their trays and everything, and then we don't know who's going to wipe the tables, and then I personally can't do it because I've got to watch the rest of my class. So go ahead and establish who's going to wipe your tables and sweep around your table in the cafeteria before you head out to lunch. Also, some schools might not make you wipe your table when you're done, but every school I worked in has. So do not associate with people that are being negative. You know, the ones that tell you go up to them, man, I had a really good lesson today. Man, kids were engaged in this and that. Ugh, my kids didn't do anything. Do you have this child? Oh, they're horrible. Blah, 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 blah. Stay away from those people. They'll take away your light. You don't need anyone to put that light out because you need to keep being on fire, okay? Because you have to be on fire to do this job, okay? Stay away from negative people and don't engage in that negative conversation. Tip number 15, and you have probably read this or seen this in a book. Do not argue with students. Do not argue with students. Do not argue with students, because usually it makes you look bad and unprofessional. So say you have a student that's not working and you go up to him or her and you're like, so-and-so, please get back to work. Say they're like, nope, not gonna do it. And you can tell by the tension in their face and their body that no matter what you say, they're gonna cause a scene. just very quietly say, we will talk about this later, and then go on and teach. Deal with it later. Do not deal with this with an audience, okay? And depending on how it goes when you speak to them later or deliver the consequence later in private, then you can determine whether it's important enough to call their parents. Okay, so that is the 15 tips that you will not see or read in a college textbook or here in college. I hope you found them helpful. And if you are a veteran teacher and you have a tip that they did not teach you in college, please leave that down in the comments below. If you're a brand new teacher, please leave the tip that you found the most helpful and you will use your first year of teaching. Don't forget to like, share, or subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. Also, if you would like some free resources, visit my website at hotforteaching.weebly.com. This will be linked in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.